1. The explosion came at breakfast. Brunetti's position as a commissario of police, though it made the possibility of explosion more likely than it would be for the average citizen, didn't make the setting any less strange. The location, however, was related to Brunetti's personal situation as the husband of a woman of incandescent, if inconsistent, views and politics, not to his profession. "Why do we bother to read this disgusting piece of garbage?" Paola exploded, slamming a folded copy of the day's Gazzettino angrily onto the breakfast table where it upset the sugar bowl. Brunetti leaned forward, pushed the edge of the paper aside with his forefinger and righted the bowl. He picked up a second brioche and took a bite, knowing that clarification would follow. "Listen to this," Paola said, picking up the paper and reading from the headline of the leading article on the front page. "Fulvia Prato recounts her terrible ordeal." Like all of Italy, Brunetti was familiar with Fulvia Prato, the wife of a wealthy Florentine industrialist who had been kidnapped 13 months before and kept in a cellar for that entire time by her kidnappers. Freed by the Carabinieri 2 weeks before, she had spoken to the press for the first time the previous day. He had no idea what Paola could find especially offensive in the headline. "And this," she said, turning the paper to the bottom of page 5. "EU minister confesses to sexual harassment in her former workplace." Brunetti was familiar with this case as well. A female commissioner on the European Commission, he couldn't remember what her exact position was, one of those trivial ones they give to women, had yesterday said at a press conference that she had been the victim of sexual aggression 20 years ago when she worked in a firm of civil engineers. A man who had learned patience in his more than 20 years of married life, Brunetti awaited Paola's explanation. "Can you believe they'd used that word? Signora Prato did not have to confess to having been the victim of kidnapping, but this poor woman confessed to having been the victim of some sort of sexual attack. And how typical of these troglodytes," she said with a vicious jab at the paper. "Not to explain what happened, only to say that it was sexual. God, I don't know why we bother to read it." "It is hard to believe, isn't it?" Brunetti agreed, himself genuinely shocked by the use of the word and more shocked that he hadn't registered its dissonance until Paola pointed it out to him.